The views in the following program reflect those of the participants and not necessarily of Rogers or Rogers TV. Hello everyone and welcome to Mommy Talk. Today we have a special topic about children and self-regulation and massage and how to lower our stress levels. I mean, stress is one of the biggest things that families deal with nowadays. And so we have an expert on the show today who's going to talk us through how to keep ourselves calm. And speaking of calm, we have Leah Dilley from Calm Kids. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
We also have some mom guest hosts. We have Rebecca Cormier and Heather Lequier. Welcome.
Thank you.
So let's talk about our families first. Heather, tell us about your family.
So I have a son, he's 8 years old, and I have a daughter who's 4.
Okay, and Rebecca?
I have 3 kids. So my oldest is 9, his name's Elijah. Benjamin is 6, and my youngest daughter is Willow, she's 2.
Nice. And Leah, tell us about your family.
So I have a 9-year-old son, and I have a 6-year-old daughter.
Perfect. And Leah, you're also our expert today.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself professionally.
So I'm a registered massage therapist. I've been practicing for about 18 years. And so I do massage therapy. I've also taken some brain gym courses, some acupuncture courses as well. And so I work with kids and families and helping kids kind of understand what their triggers are, their stresses, when they feel sort of, well, as my book, overcooked or uncooked spaghetti.
Let's talk about the book really quick. We did a show on your book before, but let's revisit that. It's What's Your Spaghetti? Tell us a little bit about the book.
Okay, so the idea is for that children to sort of understand when they're overcooked or uncooked, so how the stress feels in their body.
Right.
And once they can kind of identify that and the emotion that goes with it, then there's little techniques in the book that help them to do some body work so that they can get themselves out of that state and ready for learning, or a little bit calmer if they have exams, or EQAOs are really big right now. So
Let me see this book here. We're going to put it here for everyone to view. So that's basically what you do for families. And so how does that help families in the end?
So through different body techniques, the children then learn to sort of regulate themselves, and they're able to express to the parents, you know, I'm feeling uncooked because of this happening at school, or homework is hard, or whatever sort of the scenario is.
Right.
And we forget to do the body work with the kids, and the body work is easy for the kids to do too.
It's not all mental, is it? It's not all mental.
Yeah. So as soon as they go into that fight and flight type of state, then their muscles get tight, their backs, their calves. So, you know, massaging kids at night is a really great way to kind of help calm their bodies, which calms their minds. I know Rebecca was mentioning that her son actually asks for massage.
Nice. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, we're going to go through today the different levels. We're going to go through babies, we're going to go through toddlers, school children, and we're going to discuss all those things. Are these topics that you guys find interesting for your families?
Absolutely.
Are your children stressed sometimes after school?
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help us today. So when we come back, we're going to go through all the different stages of life, and we're going to talk more about how you can help us to de-stress our children. Okay, so we'll see you when we get back here on Mommy Talk. The views in the following program reflect those of the participants and not necessarily of Rogers or Rogers TV. Welcome back to Mommy Talk. Today we're discussing self-regulation and de-stressing in the family. So we're going to talk to one of our moms now. We're going to talk to Heather. Heather, tell us a little bit about maybe one of the issues that's going on in your home.
So right now we're going through the EQAO testing, and for my son it's just been a very stressful process. I know the schools do try to emphasize that you do the best you can and that everyone's in it together, but I know that he's definitely lost some sleep over it. So I've been trying to reassure him that we do the best we can and that it's one day at a time and that you just feel good about what you've done. But I know that the last 2 nights we've had a hard time getting to sleep, and then he's been very stressed about his results and what that might mean for him.
Yeah, that must be hard on a little kid to have to deal with not only the stress of the test, but then the after effect.
Yes.
Right? Like, what does that mean for me if I don't do well or if I do well? Rebecca, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your home.
So I can definitely relate to that as well because my son is also going through the testing right now. But my younger son, he's very fidgety at school, not just at school, at bedtime, at reading time.
Right.
Always likes to be moving and needs to be stimulated all the time.
Right. So he's having a hard time calming?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Now, I mean, I don't know if it means that necessarily we need to make him stop moving.
Well, we're going to find that out. We're going to ask Leah. She's our professional. We're going to go through the different levels first. So we're going to start with babies. Tell us a little bit about what the service you offer and advice you have for babies.
So infant massage is a great way for parents to sort of bond with their baby and for babies to kind of relax as well, but especially if they're dealing with sort of constipation, some colicky sort of issues. There's lots of really great techniques for massaging the tummy and kind of doing leg pumps just to get everything moving and the digestion going. So that hands-on physical is really good for them. It actually helps to develop their brains as well. I don't know if you massaged your babies when they were younger. Most parents seem to be taking that on
I think
now.
usually when you rub the cream on them, you're like rubbing their legs and stuff.
Yeah, and it brings those connections from the brain to their limbs. So infant massage is a great way for parents to really...
Is there specific infant massage, or is it just kind of just a nice general, soft rubbing?
Yeah, you can do that. That's, I mean, a great way for them to kind of settle, but also just specifically say constipation. There's specific tummy massages that you can do if they have gas even, that can really help to relieve those symptoms. So if your baby seems to be crying a lot, or sometimes implementing some of these things can settle them down. Right. Yeah.
And then, okay, let's go into toddlers and elementary kids, because this is a big area. This is like, what most people, where they struggle, they start finding the problems like you're talking about in your homes. So let's talk about Heather's issues at her home, where her son is stressing over the EQAO.
Yes, and that's actually quite huge. So a lot of kids are really struggling, and so the reassurances are great, but the body work too. So if they're tense and they're tight and they're uncooked spaghetti, then their brains is going to turn into something bigger than it really is. So massaging their calves at night is a great way.
So speaking of that, we're going to have some pictures come up on the screen as you talk. So we'll just give that a minute, but go on ahead.
So the massaging the calves, when the body kind of gets into that fight and flight mode, when they're really worrying and really starting to stress about it, their calves will tighten to get them ready to run. And it will, by releasing it, you're releasing a tendon guard reflex that will tell the brain to just stay calm, and you've got this, right?
Here's the pictures here. We got them ready, so we're going to put them on the screen. Oh, and here's a pose.
Okay, so this actually is similar. So you're stretching the back of the legs. This is a yoga pose. It's called downward facing dog. And you can just do 2 poses at night with your kids. And by stretching the whole back of the legs and the back itself, again, it tells the brain, I don't need to be in fight and flight, I've got this, all is well type of thing. This is called child's pose. And so with her legs kind of spread out a little bit like that, you're stretching the inner thigh muscles, which is also another muscle that tightens when it's getting ready to be in that fight and flight mode. So by doing this calming pose, again, they're signaling the brain, it's all good, you can stay calm, helps them to sleep at night for sure.
Okay, and here's the next one.
Okay, so here's, this is an acupressure point that actually in between the eyes is a really great way to help your child fall asleep. So my son, when he was having difficulty falling asleep, I would literally just massage in between his eyes there.
Oh yeah, Heather, you said your son had a hard time falling asleep because of the stress, right?
For sure, so that would be great.
Little points like that, just lie beside him, rub in between, his body just really settled. Another point is on top, right at the top of the head.
Okay.
That's another really great spot to massage. And if you do it yourself, like you can feel it just sort of calms everything, right?
Do you think your son would be interested in this, Heather?
I think for sure he's very tactile and he enjoys getting his back rubbed, that type of thing. So I think he'd be very open.
He'd be open to doing the poses with. Okay, cool.
I'd be open to someone doing it to me too.
I would too. Yeah.
Well, that's great. And so then Rebecca and the fidgety problem.
You know what? He specifically asks me at nighttime to massage his calves, or to give him foot massages, or to tickle his back.
Wow.
You know,
okay.
when he's
Well, we
going to
actually
sleep.
have a video as well, so we'll just get that queued up. But Leah is going to talk about how to help with the fidgeting.
Yeah, so fidgeting is fairly normal for boys. And so I think, you know, we need to really sort of look at movement. It needs to happen with a lot of kids in their bodies. That's how they process. That's how they're, you know, kind of able to release their energy.
Right.
So there's a lot of great little techniques that they can use even in the classroom. There's like wiggle seats that they can sit on. So it allows them to move. It allows their muscles to be sort of relaxed without them having to hold it, and maybe it comes out later when
That
they come
sounds
home.
exactly like what he needs.
Yes, yes. Or like a squeeze ball. So
Yeah.
these squeeze balls, you can get them at the dollar store.
Right.
But it allows that movement, that energy to move through him without sort of disrupting or it sort of being pent in and then coming out later.
Your son could use a squeeze ball too when he's feeling
sure.
stressed.
Even during the testing, I think that'd be a great tool to have, just to take that moment to sort of relieve that stress.
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
you should grab him one for during the test, but he could have it there while he's
Yeah,
That's
they're
a
a dollar
great
at the
idea.
dollar store, 2 of them.
Even
So
better.
they're really cheap, yeah. And so this is a really great tool for them to be able to kind of release that. Yeah.
And so with the kind of fidgety movements and stuff, how can she encourage her children to calm? Like, other than the massages and stuff, is there like a mental kind of way of calming?
So there's the hookup. I think there's another, I don't know if there's a video on there, but there's a pose that kids can go into that, again, kind of gets that body out of that fight and flight mode, fidgety, you know, into this,
Here we are. There's a picture of one of the poses.
Okay, so that's called the cross crawl. So what he's doing, he's kind of crossing over the midline. You do that on either side. And that also gets the brain out of sort of that hind brain into the left and right, gets both sides flowing, gets them out of wanting to, you know, sort of fight. So my son was demonstrating that one.
Oh, and what do we have here?
So this is a schedule. So we were just chatting briefly too about having visual schedules, and I wanted to show you how uncomplicated mine was. I think there's some drawing on there. It looks terrible. But the kids love to be able to visually follow what's sort of happening, and I get my kids to put check marks and they get like something at the end of the week. But the visual schedules I find are a huge game changer in my family, for them understanding what's coming up next, what's happening.
Let's see if we have that video ready. Okay, let's take a look at that video, and then you can tell us what's going on in that video. So we can, okay,
There
here
we go.
we go.
Okay, so here I am just massaging the calf. This is my son's calf here. And so I'm squeezing there because his calf is actually really tight and it feels ticklish to them. And so sometimes the squeezing just helps their body, okay, get used to you being there. And then you can start rubbing. You can see I'm using fairly good pressure. You don't want to hurt the child, but you don't want it to be too tickly either, because that can stimulate. So you really want to be able to, massage that muscle and get that muscle to relax. You want to go up towards the heart. So I'm going up towards his knee, and getting that whole muscle belly to really release and let go.
This is really a nice way for a parent to connect with your child too,
Yeah.
The physical contact. I
Yeah.
find nowadays sometimes with our, devices and whatnot, we lose contact, right?
Yes.
And so this is
For
also
sure.
also really helps us to physically connect with our kids. You have a point here about hugs and tight squeezes. Tell us why
Yes.
that's important.
Well, a lot of kids, when they're developing too, they're developing their proprioception, all those sort of systems in their body. So it helps them to really feel where they are in space, where where their body's at, and if they need that sort of tight squeezing, they may be seeking that. And so that's a way that you can give it to them without them like getting into a fight or a wrestling match with someone or whatever it may be. But the massage gives that sensation as well. And I don't know if you find your son chats when, I know my son starts to chat with me about different things. When
my oldest son, getting him to sleep at the end of the day, he could talk for hours and hours and hours. He doesn't stop. Okay. And the questions,
that's
he,
nice.
he,
Keep that going.
he figures out the world when he's going to sleep. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, so that's his time to sort of process everything, and so you can just, even massaging and then doing a little bit of more of the points will just help him to process and hopefully be able to kind of shut it down for the night.
So going back to the during school and the after school, so with Heather specifically, with the test coming up, we did mention the squeeze ball. Is there anything else that her son can do during school to help him calm?
So during school, once he's able to sort of communicate with you a little bit more, you may find he'll tell you certain times of the day when he feels that, and then you can give him some strategies, or he may come up with some of his own strategies. I think you mentioned, when people are talking around him, it's noisy and he can't concentrate, and it frustrates him.
Tell us about that, Heather.
Yeah.
What is he struggling with there?
So at times in class, if he's listening to the teacher, he gets that fine focus. If someone's talking beside him, sometimes he almost takes that too personally, where he thinks that they're trying to distract him. So, maybe some strategies to allow him to focus, but allow other people to do what they need to do, or constructive ways of saying, I need to be focusing right now and able to control the situation or regulate himself.
They do have earphones that actually a lot of the kids are now taking on, because there's more kids in the classroom. It is noisier, and they will throw on the earphones if they need to sit and focus, and that allows them, empowers them to have some control without having to get upset. And then they recognize when they need that time to be able to be silent. And so those earphones are fairly inexpensive, and he can keep it on his desk and
the
throw
teacher
them on.
lets them have the
The
earphones?
teachers are really great with, allowing kids to have these tools that if they recognize, if they're used properly, and most kids do, when they feel empowered, they will use the tools properly. And so he might feel good about it.
That's a really good pointer. And then what about after school? So when we come home and everybody's all crazy excited from the day, what would be the best suggestion for these parents to do with their kids?
I find that a lot of the kids, I have a little poster in the back of the book, and it's sort of, they create at home a calming center, and then they put all their tools together. So if they're squeeze balls or pillows or whatever it is that they need to sort of go there and process, or
Is this it here?
yeah, there it is. So
Okay.
some kids will need to
I'm
play
gonna
maybe
put
10
it down
minutes
there.
of video games just to kind of get them to defuse. Some kids need to go out in nature, whatever it is that your child needs. They just need a quiet space to kind of like, okay, transition into home time, whether it's a visual schedule so they can just see what's going to happen in the next couple of hours.
So you do recommend a little bit of quiet time before we run out to all of our activities, like our sports and our everything.
Yeah,
like
some kids may
a
need
little
that.
bit of that extra
Some
time.
kids might be okay and might maybe need to go straight out to whatever their
Sure.
next activity
Sure.
is. So it really is just sort of
Yeah.
figuring out what's
best for our kids.
Yeah.
That's some
and
really
families.
great advice. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you can tell us about your practice that would help our parents today?
So, Well, I just do a variety of these techniques. So if any parents want to kind of learn how to massage their kids or want to learn, you know, what their triggers are,
They can come see you.
They can come and see me, and you know, we sort of play a game with the kids, and we just.
What about the parents though? Is it important for them to use some of these techniques?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And so when you take it on as a family and you all sort of just focus on being perfect spaghetti and uncooked and overcooked, then it definitely it helps everybody.
Yeah,
So.
because you need to be a role model, right? If I'm overcooked spaghetti or undercooked spaghetti,
Sure.
then it's no good for my kid,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
right.
they're not going to learn how to self-regulate if I
No.
can't self-regulate, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. That was
you.
really great advice. I hope you guys got to learn something. I hope the viewers at
Absolutely,
home
for
got to learn
sure.
something. And thank you so much for your expertise
thank
and
you.
teaching us a little bit about
pleasure.
calming our life, keeping us stress-free. So when we come back to Mommy Talk, we're going to do something very active. Actually, we're going to do an art activity. So we'll see you when we get back on Mommy Talk. The views in the following program reflect those of the participants and not necessarily of Rogers or Rogers TV. Welcome back to Mommy Talk. One of the things we love to do is encourage family fun activities. So Esri and our family went out and did something really fun. We're going to take a look at some pictures here. So what we did is we did some egg paint bomb art. So Esri here, you can see in the picture, she's filling up some broken egg shells. So we broke the top of the egg shells, we shook out the egg and we used it for breakfast. And then she filled them up with the paint, and now she's painting some glue around the edge of the cracked eggs after she's filled them all up. And then so you can see there, she's painting the glue. And then what she's going to do next is take the tissue paper and she's going to put the tissue paper onto the and cover the hole. And so this essentially creates like a bit of a throwing bomb that you can throw at something and make a mess. And so we invited our whole family out to Sunset Park, and we actually threw all these egg bombs. Here we are at the Sunset, and Esri's throwing the egg. You can see it there. It's about to hit the canvas. And then we have the whole family throwing the eggs at the canvas there. There was a whole lot more that happened, but I mean, this is the general, and then there's the end. There's the results. So it's really cool. It's kind of like this. What do you think of that? It's kind of a neat activity to do, eh?
So wonderful.
And then what actually you can't really see it from where we are, but it's actually 6 canvases put together, and what we did was we took them apart and then everybody got a piece.
Oh, cute.
So it was a really neat activity to do.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being on the show today, ladies. We really learned a lot. And I appreciate your knowledge, Leah, and thank you so much, ladies, for being our guest mom hosts.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Find us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you so much, everybody, and see you next time on Mommy Talk.